Hi guys, my name is Paps Wanyugi. I'm your partner in creating the life you desire and deserve. And if this is your first time, karibu. If you're coming back, good to see you again. And we've been having this conversation on abuse. You can watch the other video to just see the different forms of abuse and probably how to detect them. And today, just want to look at taking your power back from abuse. And you can watch the shots we've been doing on the other social platforms at Paps Wanyugi. But the bottom line is these 10 things that you need to understand you are responsible for. And so, regardless of where you are, probably in an abusive space, in an abusive relationship, in an abusive situation, to just remember that you can take your power back. And these are the 10 places to take your power back. And how I'm going to put it out, it's you're responsible for these places. And so I want you to just see it as I'm taking my power back in these 10 areas as something that is within my responsibility and within my charge. Okay? And so number one, you're responsible for your thoughts. I just love that proverb verse that says, as a man thinketh, so is he. And so there are many things I think every day. An average human being has how many thoughts? I think by the time you wake up in the morning and you're almost leaving the house, you've thought 2,000 thoughts. And whether those thoughts are self-defeating or enabling or probably they are uplifting, it is up to you to choose your thoughts. And why? It's because everything I'm thinking, my life starts going to that direction. And so when I'm in a relationship or probably in a situation that is abusive, what do I think about myself, about that situation? Are those thoughts true? Because the moment my thinking is self-defeating, my results will always be self-defeating. And that is why in your thought process, it's about being able to ask yourself, is it true? Is it a pleasant thought? Is it pure thought? Is it worthy thought? Is it noble? Yeah, and every time I keep on filtering through my thoughts, you remember the situation about being stuck in the rut? There is how my default thoughts can always be self-defeating because how I am thinking is just inclining towards the same direction of self-defeat. And then in the thinking, there's also the aspect of self-talk, what I tell myself about myself, and also what I tell myself about others. So many conversations that I usually have with myself in my head. And all those conversations, they keep on just bogging down my head. And of course, with time, they start bogging down my life. And so taking charge is being able to ask yourself, what do I want to think? What do I think about myself? How can I have an objective perspective of this situation so that I'm able to handle it from a place of power instead of a place of victim? And so, what are you thinking about the situation you're going through right now? If probably you're going through an abusive situation, what are your thoughts? Because your thoughts are your responsibility. Nobody can think any different thoughts from what you think of yourself and of your situations. And then number two, your emotions. I'm responsible for my emotions. And so it's just coming from a place of saying, I will not blame anyone for what I'm feeling. And one of the things I learned in psychology class that has really helped me in just coming to a place of managing emotions, it's to remind myself that when I'm talking about my emotions, I don't say you did. You rejected me. You abandoned me. I would actually say, I feel abandoned because you did this. Or I feel rejected because you did this. And you know that place of I feel, it's taking back the power so that it's not up to the other person to decide what I feel. And so if probably you've been in a situation where other people just take you through emotional roller coasters, other people's are always triggers that are negative to you emotionally, you take your power back by reminding yourself that, yeah, I can go through this situation, but feel different feelings. And it's a real journey and a process. But at the same time, you take back the power into your hands, so that you don't delegate the responsibility of how you feel into other people's hands. Because the moment I keep on saying that, when they come around me, I feel afraid, or probably you make me fear, you make me feel depressed, then it means that I'm giving away my power to that person. But when I acknowledge that I am feeling depressed because of this and this that they did, then it means that I have taken back the power in my hands. And I am aware of my emotions and I'm taking responsibility for my emotions. And then I am also pointing out what other people's actions and probably their behaviors contribute to how I feel. But I'm not entirely blaming them for how I feel, because that is how you give away your power. I hope that makes sense. And then number three, I'm responsible for my actions. And so everything I will ever do in my life is my responsibility. I will not blame anyone for my decisions. I'm not blaming anyone for my actions, because it is up to me to make decisions and take actions that are actually going to serve me best. And so when you're in this situation where you're struggling and you're a bit stuck and you don't know what to do, just remember that you're still making a decision and you can't blame anyone. And so even when you're going through abusive relationships and situations, just remind yourself you are making a decision every day, and that decision is making things better or worse. And not making a decision is still a decision. And so I'm responsible for my decisions. I'll never blame anyone for the decisions I make. If the decisions don't have a positive outcome, I'm willing to take responsibility for that as well, because I am responsible for my decisions. And I'm also responsible for my actions. And so any action I take, I'll take responsibility for it. And one of the examples I love giving is, for example, if someone slaps me, and then of course they blame me. Do I take responsibility for that? Of course, I can't take responsibility for the actions. I can take responsibility for my actions. And so in this situation, it's about what can I do about it? And how do I take my power back or take charge of that situation so that my decisions and my actions are supporting where I am and who I am. And then number 4, you're responsible for your love. Do you know you're responsible for loving yourself? You're responsible for fully accepting yourself. And whereas this is the truth, you're not responsible for someone else's love, what they do with their love. You're only responsible for what you do with your love. And that is why sometimes we choose to love through hard situations and difficult situations. That is why sometimes when you think about I'm responsible for my love, I love myself through difficult situations. I keep on picking myself up because I remember nobody is showing up. I need to keep on showing up for myself. And being responsible for your love means that, first of all, I'm responsible to love myself unconditionally, to love myself every day, to love myself absolutely. That is my responsibility. I can never delegate that to someone else. And so how am I loving myself today? And even in the spaces where you are in, how are you loving yourself in that space? And is that love functional or dysfunctional? And then also I'm responsible to choose whom to love in my life. And so as much as we are also in this space where we want to probably love everyone, we want to love people who love us back and all that, to just remind myself that every time I need to realize that I made that decision to love that person. And so if they don't love me back, I'm still taking responsibility that is within my control, whom I love. And sometimes we may also love people and then we feel like it was a draining space. Just remind yourself that nobody held a gun on my head to go into that. I walked into it willingly. And I'm responsible for my love. And that is why when we are in abusive spaces, I'm also responsible to be able to love differently, to love myself differently, and to also love those people differently. And then number 5, you're responsible for your beliefs. And why? It's because our beliefs are usually very deep, and they actually form our behavior in a very deep and intense way. And when I think about my beliefs, probably even from when I was brought up, like from when I was a little girl, some of those self-defeating beliefs that I had in terms of mindsets, in terms of things that I believe about myself, about other people, those beliefs are very forming. And sometimes I may feel like it's something I can't help. Probably it's a culture that I grew up in. But every time I need to come back to a place of power and remind myself, I am responsible for what I choose to believe. And so your beliefs form your life in a very deep way, because beyond the surface level, all of us live from a place of conviction. And your beliefs influence everything in your life. Your belief about the world, your belief about probably even the people in your life, all that. And sometimes we may have beliefs that are irrational. We may have beliefs that are not serving us anymore. Probably it's something that worked in a different season. And I am responsible to keep on renewing my beliefs. And that is why the Bible reminds us in Romans 12 that we should be transformed by the renewal of our minds, because there are some things we need to throw out. Much as it worked in a different season, it doesn't work right now, and I need to make peace with that. And then you're also responsible for your values. Do you know all those guiding beliefs that determine how you act and how you do things in your life? It is up to you. You cannot probably choose beliefs for someone else and choose their values for them, but you can choose your values for yourself. And so I cannot blame anyone else for my values. When I violate my values, when I break my boundaries and I allow other people to overstep into that space, and then it doesn't turn out well, I need to remind myself I'm responsible for my values, because I am the one who knows what I believe. I know how it's supposed to guide my life. It's supposed to be the compass for my life. And so when I violate that space because of other people, it is up to me to still come back to a place of evaluating my beliefs and asking myself, what do I stand for? Because what you stand for is something that is properly on your end. You can't blame anyone for your values. Your values that are violated, it's up to me to take responsibility for my values. You're also responsible for your character. And character is different because Miles Monroe says that integrity, which is an interchangeable word with character, is being one, where who you are in the darkness, who you are in the light is the same person. And that is a boundary that you have. You're responsible for your character, how you keep on showing up. It's up to you. I cannot blame anyone for my character. And that is why the Bible says a good name is better than sweet-smelling ointment, because it's something I've built over time. And sometimes it just takes one day, one careless day, and everything else topples down in my life. And so that is a space that I need to take full responsibility for. You can go through defamation. You can go through a place where probably people say things that are not truthful about you. But guess what? Your character, that person that lives within you, that is your responsibility. And that is my responsibility as well. And so my character, what I stand for, and my character in terms of how I want to show up, how I want people to feel about me, and how I want to show up in the different relationships, that is my responsibility. The other thing is your limits. You are the only one who knows how far is too far in your life. And you are responsible for your limits. And so even in those relationships that are abusive and environments that are not enabling, people go through mental breakdowns, people go through depression. We've seen people even committing suicide because of unbearable situations. But every time I need to remind myself, I'm the one who knows how far is too far in my life, and I'm responsible for regulating the heat. To just say, this is too hot, I need to get out of the kitchen. And so do not give up your limits or allow someone else to run your limits, because they don't know. And so even as your limits get pushed, when people are testing your boundaries, just remind yourself, I'm the only one who knows how far is too far, and I should know when to check out, or at least when to start seeking for help for the situations that I'm going through. And so I hope that was a helpful conversation. Just remind yourself that my boundaries are within my responsibility, and those are things that I'm able to do something about. And then also remind yourself, I cannot do anything about someone else's boundary. And so I'm not responsible for other people's thoughts. I'm not responsible for other people's emotions. I'm not responsible for other people's actions. I'm not responsible for other people's beliefs. I'm not responsible for the love of other people. If they're not able to love me back, they're not able to show up in a reciprocal way. I'm not responsible for other people's character. I'm not responsible for other people's values. I'm not responsible for other people's limits. I'm only responsible for myself. And so I hope this was helpful. Please share. Someone out there may need to hear this. And I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.